And I said, well, I've prayed about it. No, I hadn't prayed about it. I wanted this man. I wanted to be married because society said I needed to be married. He said, well, I really want you to pray about it. I want y'all to come in and I want y'all to talk to us, and we did. We did. Probably about a week later, he went on a drug binge and he was murdered. He was murdered. We were supposed to get married. He was murdered 2 days before we were supposed to get married. Oh, I was an adult. Yeah, I started at about 9, and it went into my 30s.
Wow.
And I finally had to admit it to my mother. I just had to tell her. I said, Mama, I can't do this no more. I can't sit down and have a decent meal without thinking, where's the next bathroom? Because I need to get rid of this. Only to turn around and just keep repeating it. I'd have moments where I would be at home and I would literally go to McDonald's and then Wendy's and then Dairy Queen, different drive-thrus because I had already eaten so much and I didn't want to be seen, going back to another restaurant, but I was still hungry because I was throwing up. But it was what I could control. I had to go down and like a baby and say, God, fix me. I am broken. I'm broken and I'm tired. I was like, it was either going to be that or death. And I say that. I'm not proud of that. But it was either going to be that or death.
Hey, Misty.
Hello, hello.
So this gorgeous home that you see is actually her home. Beautiful home. All these decorations, everything is a part of what she does. She's co-owner of SE Homes. She does home decor. She has a elite care and home services business where she's able to take care of people. They do home renovations. So this your girl for a custom home. Because, they out there, they just building. And sometimes you want something that's got that extra special touch.
That custom feel.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, because we started talking off camera, okay? And you were telling me about your breaking point. So give us a little bit of that backstory.
So, I guess I want to start with, I went to college, graduated, got my degree early. I've always had a great career life. But one of the things I always suffered in was my personal life as far as love, companionship, children, things like that. So when I got to the age where society says a woman should have children and a husband, which is about 25, 26, these days it's a little older. It's probably 30 when society says we should have those things.
Right.
So I was 30 and again, successful in my career, but I did not have a partner. I did not have children, and I was lonely. I thought God had forgotten about me. And along with that, thinking God had forgotten about me, coupled with some abandonment issues I had as a child, with the additional don't have children, everybody says, what's wrong? Why don't you want kids? Everybody thinks you don't want kids, or what's wrong with you? Even with me not having a spouse or a prospect of a spouse was, well, what's wrong with you? So with all of that going on, I started, I guess I can say, when you see self-hate, what self-hate would look like. And in my case, that was drinking, clubbing, smoking, and just a very unhealthy life, very, very unhealthy life. I smiled on the outside, dying on the inside. I recall one day, I had been out all night, partying, drinking, just trying to kill whatever it was I was thinking in my head. And my mom called, and which she always would on Sunday morning, and she said, are you getting ready for church? Of course, I'm thinking, no, I'm not getting ready for church, lady. I'm drunk. I'm still drunk. And even though I laugh at that, it's really, it was sad. Because I should have been getting ready for church, a 30-something-year-old woman praying and asking God for a husband and children, But that wasn't what I was doing. So I told her, Mom, I'll call you later. I got off the phone. I fell back asleep. I woke up. I remember it like it was yesterday. I woke up heart beating 90 to nothing out of my chest. And it's because God had just said, you're going to help a lot of people. And it scared me because it sounded like he was in the room. I'm thinking, who's in here? So then when I realized, okay, maybe this, this is God talking to me. Of course, me being who I am, I always ask why, how. So I said, well, God, how? How am I going to help somebody? I don't have children. I don't have a spouse. It's just me. I'm lonely. I'm depressed. I'm almost 300 pounds.
Yeah.
How am I going to help somebody? I need help. Well, they tell you have to be careful what you ask for, right? Because, God has a sense of humor. So he showed me how. He started directing me. I lost friends. I lost a lot of things, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. But I knew that something was going to have to change. Either it was going to be me or I was going to take my life, or something was going to have to change. It was bad. It was really bad. So over the years, because it wasn't anything that happened overnight, I just had to stay focused. Over the years, I realized that not only did I lose friends, I did extra things to lose weight, but it was simply because I knew that I needed to, which I had weight loss surgery. That's no secret. It's the best thing I could have ever done. But I also focused in on myself. I started dating a guy. So he was a great guy. He really was. But he had some issues because I accepted a lot of things during those times. When you're dealing with self-esteem issues, you tend to accept a lot of things that you probably wouldn't if you weren't. So I met this guy, and he showed me what love was like, and I'm thankful that I had him. But he was dealing with substance abuse issues. Here I was leaning in on God's promise. God, you told me I was going to help a lot so I'm going to help him.
You made it fit how you thought it was supposed
to
fit.
Yeah, we are. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to help him, and I remember going to my pastor at the time, because at this point I was going to church, and I told him we're getting married, and he said, Pastor Greg McGee said, have you prayed about it, sis? And I said, well, I've prayed about it. No, I hadn't prayed about it. I wanted this man. I wanted to be married because society said I needed to be married. He said, well, I really want you to pray about it. I want y'all to come in, and I want y'all to talk to us, and we did. Probably about a week later, he went on a drug binge, and he was murdered. He was murdered. We were supposed to get married. He was murdered 2 days before we were supposed to get married.
I'm so sorry.
But God made me okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made me okay with it. But God showed me love before that man left, and I feel like I showed that to him too. I feel like that's what he needed. But then I had to turn around. Now here I was again, lonely, no children, no spouse. And I said, well, who's going to love me now? And I had to love me. God separated me from a lot of things. And that was the best thing that he could have ever done.
So that you could learn to love yourself.
Oh, yeah. So when I focused in on me, and I'm so sorry I'm crying.
No, you're fine.
So when I focused in on me, I started running. Well, I started running so that when I was working out, people couldn't see I was crying. They would think it was sweat. But it paid off. It really paid off. I became a runner, which was something I had never been before. I became disciplined about the way that I ate. I realized that, okay, yeah, it's just me. And I don't have any children. I don't have a spouse. It's just me. I don't have children. I don't have a spouse. And I can change the way that my whole life looks right now.
Yeah.
I had a clean slate. And that is exactly what I did. I said, I'm going to change every single thing that I don't love about, Misty. Some things God gave us, we can't change it. Skin color, whatever, the height. Some things we can't change. And I was okay with those things. But what I didn't love was the way I looked at my life. I didn't love that. So I wanted to change that. And so with me, my newfound workout regimen and the discipline and the new love that I had for myself turned into me wanting to further my career. I went back to school. It turned into me hanging with different people. And eventually it turned into me meeting my spouse that I'm with now.
Yeah.
Exactly 1 year to the date of almost 1 year to the date, maybe a couple of days off of when I was supposed to get married to my my deceased fiance at the time.
I love that you really took charge of your future. You started loving yourself, because that's something, it's a taboo topic sometimes, and people don't know what it actually looks like to love themselves. It's like, oh, I get my hair done, I get my makeup done, but on the inside, like, are you accepting of yourself? Are you accepting of the way that you look and feel? And in our conversations, you mentioned even before that you struggled prior to this with some of your eating habits. So can you tell us a little bit about that, and what do you think led to that?
So I know when I was 6 years old, my mom and my dad divorced. And prior to that, I was a daddy's girl. And I knew they were struggling in their marriage, but I'm 6. So I didn't understand that. I didn't know. I just knew that he was coming home and my mama wasn't cooking for him and he couldn't sleep in her room. And, I didn't understand everything. So I was trying to take and do what my mama, what I felt like she should do. So I was, making sure when he got home, he seen me. I'd help him take his boots off. He was in the military. I'd, give him some of my food. If I had some left, I did everything. And he still left, which he and my mom divorced, so he was supposed to leave. But, of course, in a child's mind, you see that is nothing I did worked.
Yeah.
I must not be good enough.
Right.
So, as I went on in life, there were so many things outside of my control, but what was not outside of my control was what went in my mouth. So, I found myself binge eating. I found myself binging and purging. So I would eat massive amounts of food, and then I'd throw up, and then I get hungry again, and I'd repeat it. Well, it got to a point, of course, your body catches up to that. You would think that it's someone who was binging and purging would be small. Well, no, I wasn't. And it caught up, to me. So that's what led me to be almost 300 pounds. So it was a revolving door. I'm eating because I can control that. I'm throwing up because I can control that. I can't control this weight. Now I'm depressed, and I hate who I am. And I was explosive because that's all I could control.
Yeah.
I couldn't control the way my life was going. And it didn't make it any better that I was talking to myself, horribly. I felt like I couldn't. You're never going to get a man. You're never going to have children. You're never going to have this. You're never going to have that. These were things I was telling myself on top of what the world, was saying. I'll never forget my nursing instructor stood in front of me, and I was working 40 hours a week because I had to work. I had made some not too smart decisions when I had the free ride. So, when I went back to college, I had to figure that part out. And I was working a lot, and that lady looked at me and said, "You'll never be a nurse. You'll never be a nurse." I was told by other people, you'll never have a man. You'll never be anything in life. And I'm one of those people, I'm going to defy every odd.
Yeah.
If you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do it just that. I'm going to be doing it. Because that's just who I am. But on top of, hearing it from other people, plus feeding it to myself, that was the one thing that I could control, was what I put in my mouth and how it came out. But it just added to it. It compounded the problems.
And you were an adult at this point.
Oh, I was an adult. Yeah, I started at about 9, and it went into my 30s.
Wow.
And I finally had to admit it to my mother. And I just had to tell her, I said, Mama, this is I can't do this no more. I can't even have I can't sit down and have a decent meal without thinking, where's the next bathroom? Because I need to get rid of this. Only to turn around and just keep repeating it. I'd have moments where I would be at home and I would literally go to McDonald's and then Wendy's and then Dairy Queen, different drive-thrus, because I had already eaten so much and I didn't want to be seen, going back to another restaurant, but I was still hungry because I was throwing up. But it was what I could control, and it felt better than what I was dealing with in real life.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was definitely not a proud moment, but it's real. Mm-hmm. It's real, and I feel like a lot of black women deal with that. A lot of successful women deal with that. Behind the lines, we don't talk about it, but we can control it. And especially with society and its issues telling us what we should look like. Yeah, and I really hope that if, any woman deals with that, that they're open about it, because secrecy is the one thing that makes it worse.
Absolutely.
You have to tell somebody. Even though I don't battle with it as much these days, I had to come out and tell my husband, because when I get stressed, it's a stress reliever. So I had to tell him so that no more, it wasn't a secret anymore. It wasn't something the devil could use.
Yeah, and he could hold you accountable.
Oh, yeah. So he knows when I'm going through some stress, he, watching how I'm eating, what I'm eating, just to make sure that I'm not falling into that. And thankfully, again, I love myself. I don't want that life. So I don't go there. But to say that it's not a battle would be untrue.
So you've overcome, but occasionally the thoughts
are always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thoughts are always there, especially when I'm stressed. The first thing I want to do is reach for something to eat, and then my mind says, oh, you got to get rid of that. But now I'm working on healthier relationships with food. So I eat healthier choices. And then when my mind says, oh, go to the bathroom, throw that up, I'm thinking, Misty, no, that is not how. You can't do that.
Especially when you're making healthier choices, you can talk back and say, no, this is something my body actually needs.
This is something I need. Yeah.
I need this, to maintain, to sustain. So I think that that's really good that you have been able to develop that better relationship with food, that you were able to get rid of the secrets, right? And I told you on the phone, my personal belief, and I've believed this for years, is that you will always be as sick as your secrets.
And that's the truth.
If the enemy can keep you in your head and you're not telling anybody, then he can fight you with intrusive thoughts, and he can make you think that you're alone. And so, inviting somebody into that darkness helps to open up the door and bring a little bit of light. Yeah.
And especially being able to admit that to my husband, and then he not judge me based off of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That kind of love, like that unconditional love, it's like, no, not only do I love you, I'm going to help you.
I'm going to help you, and I'm going to hold you accountable too. And I understand. I do understand.
That's beautiful. So you mentioned that you have been able to overcome. Is it something that you had to go through like counseling for, or?
I have attempted counseling a couple of times, and being honest, I said attempted. It wasn't for me. That not the counseling that I was receiving. It wasn't necessarily for me. And I hate to sound, so cliche, because I know a lot of people say, oh, black people, we always want to just say, take it to God. Don't worry about a counselor, take it to God. I took it to God. Mm-hmm. I took it to God because he was the only one that knew the top to the bottom. He knew the roots. He knew, So I had to deal with it. I had to deal with Misty, honey. I had to look in that mirror and say, enough. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to work on this. So God helped me work through that. Counseling was okay. It was nice to talk about it, like I'm talking about it with you now. But it's one thing to talk about it, and it's another to say, girl, you fixing to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, I had to go down in wherever. I had to go down and like a baby and say, God, fix me. Mm-hmm. I am broken. I'm broken, and I'm tired. I was like, it was either going to be that or death. And I say that. I'm not proud of that. But it was either going to be that or death. So, yeah, no. God had to.
But I think that's beautiful because there are some people who solely think that therapy will fix everything. When it's like, you need God and you need therapy, right? Like, there are certain situations like the death of your fiance where, okay, I might need to go to therapy for this. But to help me learn to love myself better, only the one who created me could do that.
Only my creator. That was it.
Yeah.
Because people let you down. They let you down. And if you, and with me, I was so fragile at the time. I was looking for any little thing to miss because I had abandonment issues. So one little thing could have threw me back. So I was fragile like a little baby. And, as a mom, you want to protect that little baby from everything. And I knew that I had to protect myself from a lot of things at that time. I was just going through so much. The death of, the person that I felt like loved me, the eating disorder, the weight loss. I don't even want to talk about that I got fired from my job. Oh, it was so much. So I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything left. That was the only choice I had. It was going to be God or it was going to be death. And so, of course, I chose God. He chose me. And that's we've been rocking. We've been rocking. And he's kept his promise and I've kept mine.
Now, there was something that you said earlier that I kind of wanted to pull out and highlight. After your ex-fiance passed, like in those 2 days, and even after that, how did you view dating again? Because you said you met your new husband almost exactly a year later. And what were some of the guards that you had to let down in order to be open to love again?
So I'm almost embarrassed to even admit, but I think he was gone about 2 weeks and I tried dating again. I don't know what I was thinking. I think it was just, again, wanting to fall back into some of my old ways, lonely, desperate, didn't want to be alone. And so I cried on the entire date. That's when I knew that it was too soon, way too soon. And I really owe that man an apology because I cried the entire time. But after that, that's when I knew that I was going to have to get to know me again, Misty.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to be able to do that dating someone else. You hear people say, oh, to get over one, you got to get under another. That is horrible advice. The only way that you can be in a healthy relationship is be in a healthy relationship with yourself first. And that takes time.
Yeah.
You have to get to know yourself. And in order to get to know yourself, you got to spend time with yourself. That looks like self-dates. That looks like a lot of nights by yourself. Nothing's wrong with that. I had to figure out who I was and what I liked because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I just knew that I was 30-something years old with no children, no man, and in my mind, no purpose. So when all that happened, I had to reinvent myself. So I spent a lot of time by myself. I literally moved from the city that I was in. I spent time by myself. I'd go to the beach. I prayed. I went to church. I volunteered in my community. I got back in school. And so what looked like me spending time with myself actually turned into me working on myself. Mm-hmm. So when I finally did decide to date again, I was pretty healthy and healed.
Yeah.
I was pretty healthy and healed. And so when I met my husband, I was not interested in him. I told him this. He knows this. I wasn't interested in him at the time. I told him, I like the space I'm in. I was literally okay with being single, which is what's shocking. Nobody, you hear people say, oh, no, I want to be with this. And I was thinking, I am good. I'm content. I'm in a great space. Great space. So when I met him, I had every intention on him just being a friend. I was okay. I didn't need a man, or at least that's what I thought. I guess I could say I did not need anyone to validate who I was anymore. I was okay with Misty. So when I met him, I was finally, for the first time ever, 100% Misty. And he loved me. And I am so thankful for that. I tell people, be yourself. Everything, everything about you, be yourself. Um, I had spent so many years with the other guys that I had dated becoming who they wanted me to be, who I thought they wanted me to be, and it didn't work out. But when I finally said, you know what, I'm going to be Misty. This is who I am. I am a 30-year-old woman, no children. You know, I have a career. I'm pretty, successful for the age I was at. And this is who I am. I got a lot to offer. And so that's what I think really made the difference.
And I'm sure it made it that much easier for him to love you, because it wasn't guesswork. He didn't have to figure out, oh, what is she like? What is she not like? What's her favorite color? Like, you knew yourself well enough to communicate, hey, this is who I am and this is how I desire to be loved.
And this is what I like and what I don't like.
Yeah.
And what I loved about my husband is that he heard me, he seen me, and he changed. Whatever it was that he felt like he needed to change to love me properly, he did. I mean, of course, you can't come in it with these, expectations of people the unrealistic expectations. And you can't expect people to sit there and put up with your crap either. But for instance, me, I'm the type of person, just to give an example. I wasn't raised, we don't eat off paper plates, right? We don't. I wasn't raised to eat off a paper plate. There's nothing wrong with a paper plate. This I do know. But that just wasn't me, okay? So when he and I first got together, he may fix my plate, I may fix his. But he fixed my plate and he put it on a paper plate. And I told him, I said, well, I don't eat off paper plates. Now, whereas he didn't see anything wrong with it, and probably 90% of America doesn't see anything wrong with it, that wasn't who I was.
No.
And so he respected that enough to say, okay, even to this day, he will fix himself a paper plate, and he will fix me a regular glass plate, because that's just what I like. And I said that to say that when somebody loves you, they love everything about you, and they respect your wishes. So that meant, even though that was something small, it meant the world to me, because somebody else probably would have said, oh, you bougie. She's high maintenance. But he didn't see that. He knew that that just was not how I was raised, and he respected that, and he loves that about me, and that's what I love about him.
I love it. I so love that. You mentioned, which I completely understand, because society does put a lot of pressure on women to have a certain look, a certain aesthetic, a certain just a way that they carry themselves in general, especially career women, right? And you deal with that every single day. And I know that there's so many behind closed doors that may have those struggles with body image, self-image, having to just maintain this perfect lifestyle. What would you say to that career woman?
You are enough. You are enough. I tell that now to my employees. You're enough. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. I like to think that I'm more of a trendsetter than I am a follower. And even if I'm not a trendsetter in somebody else's eyes, that's fine too. I knew that one of the things that I struggled with hard was other people's opinions.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that the people that are judging us, that take the time to judge us, it's something going on with them. Because when you are happy, when you love yourself, when you feel full and complete, you don't have time to judge anyone else. So I would tell somebody else in my situation, you're enough. It doesn't matter what they say. If you have to shut them out just so that you can keep going, then shut them out so that you can keep going.
Absolutely. So you told the women that they are enough, just being themselves. What are some of the times where you felt like you're not enough, even in career, business now, like the highs and the lows of everything that you've gone through to get to where we are? Okay.
Well, so in business, it can be a man's world. predominantly white males world. But I have not had any issues breaking into that. That in my industry, I haven't had any issues with that. What's been the biggest, I guess I should say, surprise for me has been um, as I continue to climb, as I continue to grow my company, as I continue to work my butt off, because it's not easy. Um, the comments that are made by the women and people that look like me. You get the comments of she thinks she's all that, she's changed, she's different, she thinks she's better. I I have never once said or even thought that. Now, I am better than I was. I am 100% better than I was, comparing myself to myself. But I don't look around and see someone and think I'm better than they are, because I know where I came from. I know the in the bed, the drunken state, the desperate, the almost 300 pounds, the explosive, the depressed person that I was. I am better than her. I am, because I worked to get to where I am. But I think that's probably been the biggest upset for me, is that the women that have been where I've been and that are looking to go where I am would have, or that are where I am, would have the comments, or even say that they're not going to support me, or I'm not going to support her, or
Because she thinks she's better.
because I think I'm better. And I'm thinking, I get up at 3 in the morning to start my day, and it doesn't end to 10, 11 o'clock at night sometimes, more nights than I would like to mention. It's a lot of hard work. And so I say, when you are in your winning season, we want people to clap for us. But those people, I would say I had more friends when I was in the pits than I do now. My circle is very small. It used to hurt. I said, the devil knows how to get you, with one of the things that I always dealt with was abandonment issues and wanting to be loved and to be liked. Um, when things started looking up for me, he reminded me of, remember, nobody likes you. Remember, you're alone. You're never going to be a nurse. You're never going to be anybody. You're nobody. So those things I would constantly come back up and play in my head, and that's when I decided I have to be more focused. I can't listen to the outside. I have to shut it out, because if I'm not going to say it to myself, I'm not going to allow somebody else to say it. So, I hear again people say, is it hard? What do they do? What do they say? Do you get a lot of negative feedback? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. I'm relevant. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. I don't mind being the main character in somebody else's book. That's fine,
right,
if they have time for that. But I do know that I am not looking and worrying about what somebody else has going on. I have my blinders on. In this industry that I am in, which is healthcare, and like I said, predominantly male, white male led, you got to show up. You have to show out. But I am very well respected, and I earned it, and I deserve it, and I give it, But that was, I think, the biggest upset was just women that looked like me, and just the negative comments. Yeah. But trust me when I say the positive ones far outweigh the negative.
very far.
So they don't matter.
Well, let me affirm you. You are amazing. You are beautiful. You are killing it. You are wonderful. You're helping so many people who otherwise would not have the support had you not stepped up. And so, kudos and blessings to you for filling your space, your role. Absolutely. You are so phenomenal. Women would be lucky to have you in their corner. And I do pray that God sends the people who will hold up your arms, who will affirm you and speak life into you and give you that unconditional grace and love that you so desire.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you for coming, because I am so honored that you were open enough to share your story with us. Before we go, what do you have next? What's coming for you? If you are open to share, because some people like to move in silence. Okay.
I am definitely a move in silence type of girl. Because what I got going is between me and God. You know, I'm like I'm definitely still talking and listening to Him. But I will say this: I am not closing my mind to anything. It's the stars for me. It's beyond the stars for me. It's whatever God wants me to do, whatever that may look like. I do know there is a lot more. I mean, my promise, he not only did he make the promise, but he showed it to me. And it doesn't look like where I am right now. So there's so much more for me to do. But as far as my next move, who knows?
I love
open.
that. I love that. Well, I want to pray to close us out. I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to pray for women who do struggle with self image, who struggle with control issues. And you said that leading to, like those eating habits that you did have. You ready?
Okay.
Father, I thank you so much for Misty. I thank you. And I pray that you would bless her for opening up her home to us and for her kindness and her hospitality. I pray that you would continue to expand their businesses, that you would diversify their portfolios, even in ways that they could not dream or comprehend. I pray that you would open up the windows of heaven and open the floodgates of blessings to them, because they are ready to receive, because they've been so faithful to the vision that you've already given to them. I thank you, and I pray for a renewed strength even in the times where she feels tired and weak and wonders if this is just good enough. Should I just stay here, or should I keep going? Father, I pray that you would give her strength to run in this next season of her life. I pray over the women who will watch this in every aspect of their lives, and I pray that you would help them to see themselves, to love themselves the way that you love them, that they won't stay in the state that they're in, the ones who are desperate, like, Lord, it's you or death. I pray for divine intervention, that you would show yourselves to them, and that you would show them ultimately that you are in control of it all. I just want to bless you and praise you for who you are to us, Lord. And it's in Jesus' mighty name that we do pray. Amen. Thank you so much for having us and for being on the pod.
Thank you. Thank you for